Good evening to those who listen. It is April 23rd, 2018, 7:32 p.m., and I got an update on some latest Israel news. Stephen Mnuchin is set to lead 250-strong U.S. delegation at the Jerusalem embassy opening, and the group is going to include Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, Republican Senator Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Jewish leaders, and heads of pro-Israel Christian organizations. And I will leave a link to this article. Well, there's a bunch of articles together on this from the Times of Israel news. And let me go to some more news over here. Please work. Okay. Jeez. Please work. Netanyahu vows to prevent Tehran from getting nukes as the Iran deadline nears. The United States and Israel trying to get out of that Iranian nuclear deal. Russia and China vow to block any U.S. attempt to sabotage the nuclear deal with Iran. Trump and Macron are supposed to meet in Washington to discuss the fate of this nuclear Iran plan. I always have hard times whenever I'm recording. All right, so Israel strikes Syrian army position after mortar shells hit the Golan Heights. Russia is warning of a catastrophic result if Israel hits its S-300s in Syria. And that's where this next story goes to. So here we go.
Israeli and joint Western powers strikes on Syrian and Iranian installations in Syria.
And now it's not going to
Russia
focus.
has threatened that they may now rethink the delivery of advanced S-300 anti-aircraft missile systems to Syria. Joining me to analyze these announcements is Dr. Martin Sherman, the founder and executive director of the Israel Institute for Strategic Studies. Thanks so much for coming back to the show. So, Dr. Sherman, when you're hearing about this new announcement, this change in Russian policy, do you see that as an offensive or a defensive move?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's an actual change here. It's merely a threatened change. And the Russians have threatened to deploy these advanced anti-aircraft missiles before and backed away from it. I have a feeling that the Russians don't really want to get into a sort of intense conflict with Israel. I think that they would rather keep things on slow burn. And they know that Israel cannot allow its freedom of action in the skies over Syria, over Lebanon, to be threatened by advanced systems. There was quite a brisk interview with General Amos Yadlin in Bloomberg not long ago. He was one of the pilots who bombed the Iraqi reactors, and he seemed to be unperturbed by the possible deployment of it, and thought that Israel could handle it quite easily.
Don't you think this would, severely change how Israel really addresses doing any operational activity in Syria, especially since, just recently, today, we had a mortar fire that fell into the Golan Heights minutes ago, really, and how Israel then responded with an attack, on an installation. So, doesn't this threat diminish our ability to respond?
Well, that's the question. First of all, if the threat materializes, it may. But as I said, military experts in Israel seem to believe that Israel can deal with it. And in the past, Israel has shown impressive ability to deal with anti-aircraft defenses, whether it was the SAM missiles in the 1980s on the Lebanese border, whether it was the air defenses of the...
All right, so if you know Bible prophecy, if you know the Bible, in Jeremiah 49, it states that God will protect Israel. And when Iran, which I believe was Edom in Jeremiah, which is now modern-day Iran, when Iran tries to attack Israel, God or Israel will destroy the bow, which is like their weapon, whatever weapon they're planning on using against Israel, and they will stop the attack before it even happens. And it also says that the people will be scattered to the four winds. So I'm guessing what that would mean is there's some kind of attack on Iran, and the people that survive will be refugees and scattered across the four winds.
Well, the jury is still out on whether or not U.S. President Donald Trump will be at the ribbon-cutting ceremony when the American embassy opens in Jerusalem next month. But Israeli officials have just confirmed that at least 2 members of the Trump family will attend, the president's daughter Ivanka and his son-in-law Jared Kushner. The Kushners will be joined by an envoy of American congressmen, as well as U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. And even without Trump in tow, this delegation is expected to be a massive gathering of some 250 Americans. While many Israeli leaders see this as a long-delayed recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, the occasion has elicited fierce criticism and even bloodshed since Trump first announced the decision late last year. Palestinian and Arab leaders see this as the end of America's long-serving role as an impartial mediator in the peace process, accusing the U.S. of unilaterally deciding something that only Israel and the Palestinians should have decided for themselves. In fact, Jared Kushner initially spearheaded Trump's efforts to land his so-called ultimate deal for peace, but that seemed to have fizzled out in the aftermath of the Jerusalem announcement. Now, the ceremony begins May 14th at the doors of the new embassy in Jerusalem's Al-Nona neighborhood. It will coincide with the end of a 6-week Palestinian March of Return rally on the Gaza border. And as we've seen in the last 4 consecutive weekends, these clashes have often turned bloody and continue to attract global debate. While Palestinian terror is a...
Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. God bless.